Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service.
Seid gegrüßt, meine Lieben. Ich bin Kryon vom magnetischen Dienst.
We find ourselves deep within the salt mine,
Wir befinden uns tief im Salzbergwerk,
covered by the mountain.
überdeckt vom Berg.
And in this, by free choice, you are isolated.
Und hierin seid ihr aus freiem Willen isoliert.
You're isolated from everything.
Isoliert von allem.
For some of you, this is a first.
Für einige von euch ist es das erste Mal.
Imagine a place where there simply is no sound at all.
Stellt euch einen Ort vor, an dem es einfach überhaupt keinen Klang gibt.
I want you to listen for a moment.
Ich möchte, dass ihr einen Moment lauscht.
Dear ones, this is isolation.
Meine Lieben, das ist Isolation.
And it's a time for introspection.
Und es ist eine Zeit zur Innenschau.
There are no distractions.
Es gibt keine Ablenkungen.
When there's no sound around you, there's no chatter of the earth.
Wenn kein Klang um euch herum ist, ist da kein Geplapper von der Erde.
This is one of the reasons this chamber was built.
Das ist mit ein Grund dafür, warum diese Kammer errichtet wurde.
For even those who go out into the desert, into the nature, they don't have this.
Denn selbst jene, die hinausgehen in die Wüste, die Natur, haben das nicht.
A time when your perception goes inward.
Die Zeit, wo eure Wahrnehmung nach innen geht.
I want to call this short channel
Wir sprechen von einem kurzen Channeling.
questions and truths.
Fragen und Wahrheiten.
It's time to ask yourself some things.
Es wird Zeit, euch einige Dinge zu fragen.
Dear ones, this is either something that is important to you or it's not.
Meine Lieben, das ist etwas, was entweder wichtig ist für euch oder es ist es nicht.
But here is a time that can really be significant and profound.
Aber hier ist eine Zeit, die wirklich wesentlich und profund sein kann.
When you can ask yourself things and I can tell you some things.
Wo ihr euch Dinge fragen könnt und ich kann euch einiges sagen.
You may have heard the channelings before.
Vielleicht habt ihr die Channelings schon zuvor einmal gehört.
There's nothing quite like this.
Es gibt nichts, was damit vergleichbar wäre.
Do you feel a connection in any way to yourself right now?
Empfindet ihr im Moment auf irgendeine Weise eine Verbindung zu euch selbst?
No distractions.
Keine Ablenkung,
No sounds other than this which you hear now.
keine anderen Geräusche als die, die ihr jetzt hier hört.
Or perhaps even your breathing is a bit loud.
Wo vielleicht sogar euer Atem schon ein wenig laut ist.
Let's ask some questions.
Stellen wir einige Fragen.
Be honest with yourself.
Sei ehrlich zu dir.
Number one,
Nummer 1.
do you believe in the creative source?
Glaubst du an die Schöpferquelle,
The creative power
die Schöpferkraft,
that created the earth and you?
die die Erde und dich hervorgebracht hat?
Have you really asked yourself this?
Und bist du bereit, dir wirklich diese Frage zu stellen?
This is the most important question,
Das ist eine höchst wichtige Frage,
for it sets the stage for the truths that follow.
denn sie schafft die Voraussetzungen für die Wahrheiten, die folgen werden.
Dear ones, if you're in the room now with me,
Meine Lieben, wenn ihr jetzt im Raum seid mit mir,
the chances are that there is some awareness of what you would call God or Spirit.
stehen die Chancen gut, dass es da irgendein Gewahrsein von Gott oder dem, was ihr Spirit nennen mögt, gibt?
the creative source of the universe.
der schöpferischen Kraft des Universums.
Do you believe in the soul?
Glaubt ihr an eine Seele?
Something inside you which is bigger than the human.
Etwas in euch, was größer ist als der Mensch.
Perhaps it's even bigger than what you can think about.
Vielleicht ja sogar größer, als ihr es euch vorstellen könnt.
And it's caused you to be here in the chair.
Und das hat euch dazu veranlasst, hier auf diesem Stuhl zu sitzen.
There's something inside that asks, is there more?
Weil da etwas in deinem Innern ist, das dich fragt, gibt es da noch mehr?
Esoterics is like that.
So ist es in der Esoterik.
For it is never understood, but it is felt and sensed.
Denn es wird nie verstanden, aber gefühlt und gespürt.
And so the sensing brings you here.
Und dieses Gespür also bringt euch hierher.
I sense there is something more.
Ich spüre, da ist noch etwas.
I want to sit in a quiet place
Ich will sitzen an einem stillen Ort
and allow things to happen.
und erlauben, dass etwas geschehen kann.
And they will.
Und das wird es.
And the things that would happen
Und die Dinge, die geschehen,
would be the realization of truth.
das ist die Erkenntnis der Wahrheit.
Not systems, not doctrine,
Keine Systeme, keine Doktrin,
raw truth.
die rohe Wahrheit.
Something so unique and beautiful
Etwas so Einmaliges und Wunderschönes,
that all of the sensing that you have had
das alles Spüren, was da in dir war,
starts to make a profound difference and answers occur.
auf einmal enorm viel auszumachen beginnt und Antworten auftreten.
The truth is this, yes, there is a creator.
Die Wahrheit lautet ja, es gibt einen Schöpfer.
Look around.
Schaut euch um.
Most of humanity, billions of souls believe this.
Ein Großteil der Menschheit, Milliarden von Seelen glauben das.
80% or more of the planet believes this
80% oder mehr des Planeten glauben das,
because they sense it
weil sie es spüren
and they know it.
und sie wissen es.
It's not wishful thinking that there's something beyond yourself.
Es ist kein Wunschdenken, dass es da irgendetwas gibt, was über dich hinausgeht.
If it is, what is it?
Und wenn es ist, was ist es
Who
dann?
is it?
Wer ist es?
And I can tell you this truth that you feel already.
Und ich kann euch diese Wahrheit sagen, die ihr bereits fühlt.
The Creator,
Der Schöpfer,
God, Spirit,
Gott, Spirit,
is beautiful,
ist wunderschön,
benevolent,
wohlmeinend,
loving,
liebend,
compassionate,
mitfühlend
and knows your soul.
und kennt deine Seele.
Beautiful,
Wunderschön,
loving,
liebend,
benevolent,
gütig,
compassionate,
mitfühlend
and knows your soul.
und kennt deine Seele.
That
Das
is what you sense.
ist dein Gespür.
Do you feel perhaps you've been here before?
Hast du vielleicht das Gefühl, du bist schon einmal hier gewesen?
Not all of you do,
Nicht euch allen ergeht es so.
but some of you are convinced of it.
Aber einige von euch sind davon überzeugt.
This is real esoterics.
Das ist wirklich Esoterik.
There are those who would then say, well, that's a little too much for me.
Da sind diejenigen, die sagen würden, das wird ihnen dann doch etwas zu viel.
The belief in past lives.
Dieser Glaube an frühere Leben.
And yet,
Und doch,
the most ancient recorded belief systems in the planet believe it.
die ältesten aufgezeichneten Glaubenssysteme auf dem Planeten glauben genau das.
Before any of your prophets arrived,
Bevor irgendwelche von euren Propheten da waren
or the modern systems of today,
oder die modernen Systeme der heutigen Zeit.
the belief in past lives was there.
Der Glaube an frühere Leben war schon da.
It's intuitive.
Intuitiv.
It's sensed.
Es wird gespürt.
Some of you know you were here before,
Einige von euch wissen, dass sie schon einmal da waren.
not just one time.
Und zwar nicht nur einmal.
I speak to something we call old souls.
Ich spreche hier zu etwas, was wir alte Seelen nennen.
Listen,
Hör zu.
it brings you to this space.
Es bringt dich zu diesem Raum.
The questions in your Akash bring you to this space.
Die Fragen in deiner Akasha-Chronik bringen dich zu diesem Raum.
Is it possible I've been here many, many times?
Kann es denn sein, dass ich schon viele, viele Male hier war?
Is it possible my soul itself is ancient?
Kann es sein, dass meine Seele als solche uralt ist?
I feel I know profound things are inside.
Ich habe das Gefühl, ich weiß, dass ganz tiefe Dinge in mir sind.
Is that you?
Bist das du?
To some degree,
In gewissem Maße
in the room, it is you.
stimmt das, das bist du.
Some know it, absolutely.
Einige wissen das, absolut.
And some are now considering it.
Und einige ziehen es jetzt in Erwägung.
What if it was true you are known by God?
Was, wenn es stimmen würde, dass du Gott bekannt bist?
Then you have to ask the next question.
Dann musst du die nächste Frage stellen.
Is there a reason why I'm here?
Gibt es einen Grund dafür, dass ich da bin?
And now I'll give you the biggest truth.
Und jetzt werde ich euch die größte Wahrheit sagen.
For you,
Für euch,
for your soul.
die Seele, alte Seele,
Every one of you is here on
Jed-
purpose.
jeder und jede von euch ist
No
zu einem
acc-
Zweck da.
No accident at all.
Überhaupt keine Ausnahme.
Everyone.
Jeder.
The things you've been through so far in this life are known by God.
Die Dinge, die ihr hinter euch habt bislang in eurem Leben, sind Gott bekannt.
All of the things you've experienced,
All die Dinge, die ihr erlebt habt,
the difficulties you've had,
die Schwierigkeiten, die ihr hattet,
times that you've spent in grief or crying in the dark.
die Zeiten, die ihr in Trauer zugebracht habt oder weinend im Dunkeln.
We've been next to you through all of that.
Bei all dem waren wir an eurer Seite.
Dear ones, dear old soul, there is a truth coming.
Meine liebe alte Seele, es kommt eine Wahrheit,
You're needed here now
die ihr jetzt hören müsst,
to awaken into a comfort of knowing that you're needed.
um aufzuwachen in das Behagen zu wissen, du wirst gebraucht.
Needed in a way that is different than you think.
Gebraucht auf eine Weise, die anders ist, als du denkst.
In the battle of dark and light, you represent the light.
In der Schlacht zwischen hell und dunkel stehst du für das Licht.
Compassionate human being,
Mitfühlender Mensch,
benevolent human being,
gütiger Mensch,
who want peace on earth,
der Frieden auf Erden will.
good things for others and their families,
Gute Dinge für andere und ihre Familie.
slow to anger,
Nicht so ohne weiteres wütend,
quick to see the light of God
Schnell.
in others.
damit das Licht Gottes in anderen zu sehen.
Do you recognize yourself in that?
Erkennst du dich wieder darin?
And many of you do.
Und vielen von euch geht es so.
This is high consciousness.
Das ist hohes Bewusstsein.
And it opposes that which has dark consciousness on the planet right now.
Und es steht dem entgegen, was dunkles Bewusstsein hat zur jetzigen Zeit auf dem Planeten.
There is darkness here on this planet,
Da ist Dunkelheit hier auf diesem Planeten,
represented by humans
vertreten durch Menschen,
who wish to keep you in the dark,
die euch im Dunkeln halten möchten,
who do not want a new world,
die keine neue Welt wollen,
who do not want compassionate souls here,
die keine mitfühlenden Seelen hier wollen.
who wish to take it back to the old days,
Die wollen, dass alles wieder zurückgeht in die alten
where they
Tage,
could control you
wo sie euch kontrollieren konnten
and put you down with war.
und euch mit Kriegen niedermachen.
Dear ones, that's not going to happen.
Meine Lieben, dazu wird es nicht kommen.
Not to this world.
Nicht in dieser Welt.
Oh, there may be times when there's 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Oh, es mag Zeiten geben, wo es 2 Schritte vorgeht und einen zurück.
But the light represented by those in this room are going to make a difference.
Aber das Licht, das repräsentiert wird durch diejenigen in diesem Raum, wird etwas bewirken.
I want to go back over 20 years.
Ich möchte noch einmal 20 Jahre zurückgehen,
The original metaphor
zu der ursprünglichen Metapher
of a light worker.
für einen Lichtarbeiter.
The room is dark,
Der Raum ist dunkel
and one person lights a match,
und eine Person entzündet ein
and
Streichholz.
suddenly many can see.
Und plötzlich können viele sehen.
What if you are the match?
Was, wenn du das Streichholz bist?
Do you get this metaphor?
Schau dir diese Metapher an.
Your compassion allows so many without it to see.
Dein Mitgefühl erlaubt so vielen, ohne es zu sehen.
As you leave this place,
Wenn du fortgehst von diesem Ort,
as you walk and go to the store,
während du über die Straße gehst zum Laden
or care for your children or your grandchildren,
oder dich um deine Kinder kümmerst oder Enkel,
your very existence spreads light on this planet.
wird deine bloße Existenz Licht verbreiten auf diesem Planeten.
Is that too esoteric for you?
Ist das für dich zu esoterisch?
We've said it before.
Wir sagten es schon zuvor.
Light is something that spreads itself.
Licht ist etwas, was sich von selbst ausbreitet.
People are attracted to balance.
Menschen fühlen sich angezogen von Balance.
They're not attracted to dysfunction.
Sie fühlen sich nicht angezogen von Dysfunktion.
That's why you're here.
Deshalb seid ihr hier.
Do you believe in the Creator?
Glaubt ihr an den Schöpfer?
Here's the truth.
Hier ist die Wahrheit.
The Creator is inside you.
Der Schöpfer ist in dir.
That's that higher part you feel.
Das ist dieser höhere Anteil, den du fühlst.
Dear ones, that Creator can take your hand
Meine Lieben, dieser Schöpfer kann deine Hand
in
nehmen
the darkest places on this planet
an den dunkelsten Städten dieses Planeten
and pull you through things that are difficult
und dich hindurchziehen durch Dinge, die schwierig sind
and make you understand what balance is.
und dich verstehen lassen, was Gleichgewicht bedeutet.
There's another name for who you are becoming.
Es gibt noch einen weiteren Namen dafür, was du gerade wirst.
Masters of the light.
Meister des Lichts.
And that is what this planet needs right now.
Und genau das braucht dieser Planet
That's
zur
what the
jetzigen
shift
Zeit.
is all about.
Darum dreht sich die ganze Veränderung.
All of this is so new.
All das ist so neu.
You will see things you've never seen before.
Ihr werdet Dinge sehen, die ihr noch nie zuvor gesehen habt.
Dear ones, put fear behind you.
Meine Lieben, lasst die Angst hinter euch.
For fear will cancel your light as fast as anything ever would.
Denn die Angst wird dein Licht so schnell erlischen lassen, wie es je irgendetwas konnte.
Understand who you are.
Verstehe, wer du bist.
Old soul.
Alte Seele.
Experienced old soul.
Erfahrene alte Seele.
Wise old soul.
Weise alte Seele.
Claim your power.
Erobere dir deine Macht.
Who you are.
Das, was du bist.
Feel the light and compassion building in you.
Und fühle das Licht und das Mitgefühl sich aufbauen in dir.
There'll come a day when what's happening in this room will never be needed.
Es kommt der Tag, wo das, was in diesem Raum geschieht, nicht mehr gebraucht wird.
Teachers, channelers,
Lehrer, Channeler,
you will be all of it.
ihr werdet nicht mehr gebraucht.
And you will be teaching the planet
Und ihr werdet den Planeten lehren,
what light is all about.
was es mit dem Licht auf sich hat.
Simply by existing
Einfach durch eure Existenz
in the love of God.
in der Liebe Gottes.
Shining like the light from the sun.
Strahlend wie das Licht der Sonne.
And that will create the balance on the planet.
Und das wird das Gleichgewicht herstellen auf dem Planeten.
High consciousness will win over low consciousness.
Das hohe Bewusstsein wird siegen gegenüber dem
It
Niederen.
will take time.
Es wird Zeit brauchen.
There will be battles for it.
Es wird Kämpfe geben darum.
And light will
Und das
prevail.
Licht wird den Sieg davontragen.
That's who you are.
Das bist du.
That's why you're here.
Und dazu bist du hier.
In this time of thought, in this time of introspection,
In dieser Zeit der Gedanken, in dieser Zeit der Introspektion,
know this truth is real.
wisse, diese Wahrheit ist real.
That's the message of Kryon.
Das ist die Botschaft von Kryon.
You're more than you think.
Du bist mehr, als du denkst.
So much experience here.
So viel Erfahrung hier.
I'll be back.
Ich komme zurück.
And so it is.
Und so ist es.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The group is floating, and it's not the first time we have done something where hundreds are together and not grounded. We recall the time in the place you call Israel, where 300 in 3 vessels floating together enjoyed one trance, one channel, singing together as one. And it is the same today, except there are 400. Dear ones, that's what I want to discuss. There's something that can happen on this vessel. For those who are not here, we say to you that this is a boat, and the 400 are now floating in the lake, on their way to the first destination, which has been called the island with male energy. But right now, you're neutral. I want to talk more about that very fact of grounding. Dear ones, here are things that I have never mentioned before. Interesting and yet very telling about what happens to those on the water. Not just on the water, but in groups on the water. I want to give you a metaphor. And the metaphor is just that. Do not compare it with reality. But the metaphor is of lightning on the planet. When the charge is too much and the energy is too great to be held in the clouds, the electricity, which is mostly static, is discharged to the earth. And the discharge then takes care of the energy. It is no longer in the clouds. Some of you understand the principles of grounding and the rods that can stick up and absorb the lightning. But it's the process I want you to see. Too much energy gets discharged to the ground, and that takes care of it. There is something similar to human beings that you're not aware of. Did you know that one of the purposes of Gaia, the beauty of the planet, the system of the planet that works with human beings, is part of you being able to discharge energy into the ground. When some of you have issues, and truly the energy is building of your anxiety, there are a few of you who are so tuned in to Gaia that you will go outside, take off your shoes, put your feet in the grass, or actually hug a tree. And you know what happens then. For the discharge is complete and the anxiety starts to subside. This is your lightning. This is your discharge into the ground. And as you are here in this boat, you can't do it. And so the discharge is not possible. But what is possible is for you to start to understand the process. Now there's something else going on here that's beautiful. Dear ones, the ancients knew that there is some kind of energy around the human being. Later it was actually identified. Some have even calibrated it. The name some have given is the Merkabah or the Merkabah. Whatever you think of this, it is the field of energy around a human being. Are you aware that this field also is connected to Gaia? Now, it's not connected at the moment in the normal way, where you normally have your feet close to the ground. Now, some would say, well, I work in a tall building. Dear ones, the tall building is anchored in the ground. And that is connecting you to the ground. But not now. The Merkabah is interesting, for the energy field is really large. Some have said it goes out to 8 meters. I will tell you this. It goes out to 8 meters when you calibrate it in 3 dimensions. If you want to look at the potential of the realities on the planet, your Merkabah is partially what you would call multidimensional. Some have even called it quantum. Therefore, how far would it extend if it were multidimensional? And the answer is, there is no boundary. Listen, multidimensional things have certain kinds of realities that have no boundary. That means that energy that you have literally could be talking to the other side of the galaxy. And that is scientific, and it's called entanglement. There's more. So let's bring it back to 3D. We won't get too elegant in this physics. If it goes to 8 meters, that means that all of you are connected in this vessel. You're sitting in each other's field, and you're not grounded. I'm building a scenario here. And the scenario is this. There is great opportunity right now for you to share each other's energy. Instead of Gaia doing the grounding, the group does it. You have heard this all your lives, that where 2 or more are gathered together in the same consciousness of prayer, meditation, or alliance, that it's more powerful. There's greater strength in what you can do together than alone. Think of this, 400 of you, all developing the same thought for one another. And that's what we're going to do. Because you're not grounded, there are some things that can come forward far easier The water is reflective. That is a metaphor. And it is something that you are starting to be able to develop on the water. Things will come forward that are energetic. Now listen, I've never said this before. There are certain attributes of consciousness that don't need grounding. They're as powerful and as strong no matter where you are. Can you imagine what they might be? They're the ones that have come directly from the creative source. And here they are: compassion, pure love, and the one you didn't expect, laughter. You don't need grounding. These are pure. They are from the other side of the veil. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about everything else. The lightning, the worries, the anxieties, the feelings you have that things are not working well. What's going to happen tomorrow? What are you going to do about the things perhaps that are in your life that are not working as you perceive it? What are you going to do perhaps of the fear of some of the things around you or within you that grow when you're on the water? That's the lightning. That is what you cannot discharge. There's no tree to hug at the moment, but you have each other. And the power of the Merkabah, which can touch anything at any time, means that the Merkabah itself is a vehicle of grounding. Named in Hebrew as the vessel you ride in. You understand what I mean. All of you right now have the ability to come together in one thought as a lightning rod and help one another, even if you don't know what the other needs. This is the beauty of pure esoterics. You don't need to know how things work in order to enjoy the strength and the beauty of their process. You don't need to know who you're praying for. All you have to understand is that they're just like you. They are family. They have the same peace of God in them you do. There's the connection. You might say this vessel has one large, compassionate energy at this moment. The compassion and the love that you can create if you concentrate on it right now can actually help and dismiss, change attitudes. You might even be able to create a healing vortex right here, right now. So let's do it. The process that we are using now is spiritual and basic physics. Together you are stronger than individual. I want you to put your mind upon only compassion, the purest love that you can imagine. For a mother, perhaps it's the first time they looked into the eyes of the infant that came from their body. For a father, it's the same. For those of you who are not parents, it would be the greatest love that you have ever experienced in your life. And concentrate only on the purity. Do not concentrate on your issue. And in this way, you build almost a violet flame of beauty surrounding this vessel so that so many can place themselves in it. And suddenly what this does is start to consume all of the things that are inappropriate for mastery. self-worth can start to rise because the things that will cause you to doubt are being burned in the violet flame. The flame itself is the grounding issue that you are creating right here. There are those on this vessel that may very well feel the healing force of all of you and leave the vessel differently today than they arrived. That's how powerful it can be. Rearranging the engrams of syntax in your minds, in your brain that says that you're not worthy. It's a healing meeting, and you didn't expect it, and you can do it on the water because there's no grounding to interrupt the focus of compassion. What a beautiful thing for you to remember. The next time you gather together with the focus of esoterics and spirituality on a boat, I want you to concentrate. Focus this, not your issues, just the most beautiful thing you can possibly think of. Even the captain might feel it. And that has happened so many times, that the workers around the group want to know what you did because they felt better for it. This is the energy you develop. This is what you can do. Continue your focus. Continue your focus. A violet flame is there, and it's huge, and the healing is there. Let the entities that some of you know about arrive. We greet Saint Germain and the healing energy of this flame, the great healer, the master. Dear ones, don't think of the prophets. Think of that which is inside you being enhanced to the degree that everyone is one thing, one flame, one beautiful, beautiful power that is going to consume anything inappropriate in your life. This is what you can do as a group. Fantastic. Now come down from that for a moment and relax back into who you are. I'd like to tell you what the next step will be in the future. And it has to do with the evolution of the old soul's energy. If you can do this for a group on the water, I want you to return to my statement that you have multidimensional Merkabahs. Is it possible that a few could therefore change the planet? Think about it. For as you grow in your abilities and your higher consciousness starts to place itself on this planet with you and your children, and humanity starts to grow up, a few can help the many. There is still free choice. Those who don't want to be helped won't be. That's free. What you do is create the beauty of allowance, letting those step into the beauty who can't do it themselves. I just gave you the mechanism where old souls will be able to help new souls that don't have what you have, the experience, the wisdom, the knowledge, or the compassionate mind. That's coming. Do you see how this might work in the future? Some of you will leave this place differently than you came, and that is the whole reason for Kryon. I'll be back. And so it is. Greeting, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service.
Seid gegrüßt, meine Lieben. Ich bin Kryon vom magnetischen Dienst.
And so most of you are standing in a clump of trees on the male island. And all of you are grounded. In fact, continuing the last channel, it might even be a good idea to hug one of the trees before you leave the island. This channel on this island will be a short discussion of a kind of evolution you don't expect. But before we do that, I give you controversial information about very recent history here on this island. This will be meaningful or not, mostly for the Bavarians. For we speak of the king. And the king we speak of is Ludwig, who built a castle on this island. But wait, was it Ludwig? It's a French castle. Why did a Bavarian king build a French castle on this male island? And the answer is Ludwig was a bit confused. In fact, he was very confused. First thing that you should know, it is a good thing, but not well known, but that explains a little of Ludwig. His last lifetime was as a female. So Ludwig comes in as a wonderful decorator. That explains a little. The flag on his castle should have been the rainbow flag. But that's not all. Here's the big one. Ludwig's soul was shared with Louis. And Ludwig was convinced that his past life was Louis of France, King Louis, the one who built Versailles. Toward the end of his life, he actually tried to become Louis. So you would think what undid him was his esoterics. He was very esoteric, and he shared the soul of another king. This is interesting because these are the kinds of things that are remembered most profoundly in the Akashic record. If you're a big leader, a wise leader or not, of any kind of association or country, it carries over. For that is the drama that you remember. And it's not just leadership. It would be other kinds of things that created that which was most energetic in a past life. But if you were a queen or a king, it really brings into your life those feelings. Now it's interesting. As we look at this male island, we talk to old souls. And that means that every single old soul here has been both genders. Now, some of you may deny it. That's your bias. But you have been both genders. And so this starts the explanation of what is to come. If all souls carry both genders over and over on this planet, it should mean that there would be a great understanding. And so in that understanding, you would have a much better society,
wird dann eine viel bessere,
much better partnering.
viel besser sein in der Partnerschaft.
But you don't.
Aber so ist es nicht.
If you look at what this earth has become,
Was aus dieser Erde geworden ist,
the planet is a male
so ist der Planet
gender world.
eine Welt, die vom männlichen Geschlecht
And
dominiert.
so what has happened
Was also geschehen ist
in the last century
im letzten Jahrhundert,
is that the balance has been challenged,
Gewicht gefordert wurde.
and that the female gender
Es wurde instabil und das
is starting to realize
beginnt zu erkennen,
that the male heavy world is not appropriate.
lastige Welt nicht angebracht.
Now I want you to think for a moment in history
Ein Moment,
when this has occurred before.
das in der Geschichte schon einmal der Fall war.
And the answer is it really has not.
Es ist noch nie der Fall,
Not to the degree it has in the last century.
in dem es zum letzten
That in itself
das für sich genommen
is a kind of evolvement.
von Entwicklung.
But that's not what's going to happen.
Aber das entspricht nicht dem, was geschehen wird.
Right now,
Jetzt
there is still a battle
findet noch ein Kampf
for what many call equality
das, was viele
between the genders,
Berechtigung bezeichnen,
especially in the Western world.
vor allem im Westen.
Dear ones, I'm going to tell you
Liebe, ich werde Ihnen euch
what is possible here.
möglich ist.
How do I say this?
Wie sage ich es?
An evolving human spirit
Ein sich entwickelnder Mensch
will start to remember
wird beginnen, sich zu erinnern,
what it was like to be the other
wie
gender.
es war, das andere Geschlecht zu
Women, listen.
Frauen. Hört,
Men, listen.
Männer, hört hin.
Can you imagine
Könnt ihr euch vorstellen,
how much more comfortable life would be?
wie bequemer ihr es hättet,
How much better societies would be?
besser Gesellschaft,
How much better business and government would be
besser es laufen würde mit Geschäften.
if you had the attributes, the strong attributes of the other gender as well,
Anderen Geschlechts gleichzeitig,
so that there would be wisdom
sodass da Weisheit wäre.
in partnerships today.
Partnerschaften
Some of the worst ones,
in den schlimmsten davon.
this is controversial,
Und das
some of the worst
ist
ones
der Punkt. Einige der schlimmsten
are old souls,
sind alte Seelen,
for they compete.
weil sie konkurrieren.
They don't have a confluence
Bei ihnen
of togetherness.
fließendes
It's still gender specific,
Es ist immer noch
but they compete
aber sie
because they remember so much of the other gender.
erinnern an vieles.
So what would evolvement look like?
Wie würde also
A
Entwicklung
difference is this:
der Unterschied ist die
remembrance
Erinnerung
with wisdom,
mit Weisheit,
remembrance with compassion.
mit Mitgefühl.
And when you then enter a partnership,
Dann eine
there is no competition.
wird dort nicht konkurriert,
Instead, there is coherence.
ist da Kohärenz.
One remembers the other
Der eine
and anticipates what the other needs.
und weiß schon vorher, dass der
In a society,
in einer Gesellschaft
can you believe
könnt ihr es
that there would come a time
dass da eine Zeit
when there is no gender specificity?
eine Geschlechtsspezifik
It's simply humans applying for a job, humans
Jobbewerben, Menschen
going into government.
in Regierungen.
Dear ones, this
Meine Lieben,
is the evolution
das ist die Evolution
of the genders.
der Geschlechter.
And the ones that are going to see it first
Die das zuerst mitbekommen werden,
are the old souls.
sind die alten Seelen.
For you have been both genders
Ihr habt schon
over and over,
immer wieder
and will be the first ones to awaken
sein, die wach werden,
to the coherence
die Kohärenz
of knowing what the other
zu wissen, was
is thinking and what it was
der
like.
denkt und wie das
Men
Männer
will have a tremendous affinity
eine enorme
and understanding
viel Verständnis haben
of childbirth.
für die Geburt.
They will know.
Sie werden wissen,
Their compassion will be obvious.
Mitgefühl wird offensichtlich.
They may even have the pains of the woman.
Die Schmerzen, die die
The
Frau
confluence together
das Zusammenfließen
will be something new
wird etwas Neues
and noticed
und es wird
in human nature.
in der menschlichen
The women will understand the issues,
die Themen verstehen
the fears and the anxieties
und die Probleme,
of what the male goes through
die mit dem verbunden
to
sind,
try to provide for the family
zu versuchen, ihre
in the ways that males have done. And together, you will have a wisdom that starts no more separation. Yes, males and females will always be males and females for the purposes of procreation, obviously. But can you imagine a sameness of thought, a gentleness? Dear ones, this is something that people have dreamed about. A coming together that's compassionate and not competitive, where there would be no separations drawn of who does what and why, where history doesn't matter. You simply do the things that help one another. Government will change, and that will be obvious as well. This very country is sharing that particular attribute, an attribute that has not yet happened in other parts of the Western world. Realization that the gender doesn't matter, the wisdom matters, the intelligence, the humanism, as it should. So there is the evolvement of human nature. And the old soul has the experience to make this work first. So perhaps there'll come a day when this is no longer a male island, but only in history is it considered a male island. And that is the evolution of humanity. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. And now we are on the feminine island. And again, we are grounded. I wish to tell you a story. And it's a beautiful one. And we wait until now to give this to you. Now, my partner has given this many times in the English language, but not so much in German. And so for you, for full understanding, I give you the story of women. The creation story of the planet is well known, and so many systems and scriptures talk of it. They say that not so long ago, there was an energy that came to the planet and spoke to those who were men and women and gave to them something they did not have before. And that was the knowledge of dark and light. This story is repeated through mythology right into the modern systems. This is the way of it. No matter what you think happened, this truly was the beginning of humankind. It's when you received that seed of understanding and then received free choice and actually took on the peace of God called your soul. It wasn't that long ago, less than 100,000 years, that humanity took on what you would call the soul energy. And there begins the story of the woman. For dear ones, the beginning civilizations of this planet all had something in common.
alle etwas miteinander gemeint.
And if you could look at history,
Und wenn ihr euch die Geschichte anschaut,
if it went back that far,
wenn sie so weit zurückgingen,
you'd see it everywhere.
so würdet ihr das überall sehen.
There was an intuitive thought
War ein intuitiver Gedanke.
that the role of the
Die Rolle
woman
der Frau,
was the role
die Rolle war
of the spiritual
der
leadership
spirituellen Führerin
of humanity.
der Menschheit.
Doesn't it make sense to you
Ist es nicht sinnvoll in euren Augen,
that the one who gives birth and life
die gebiert und Leben schenkt,
and the one who is so tuned in to
die so
compassion and love,
eingeschwungen ist auf Mitgefühl und Liebe,
the one who is the gentle one
die,
of the
die
two,
sanfte von den
would
beiden,
then be fit
dass sie geeignet
to
wäre,
tune in completely
vollkommen
to
einzustimmen
the love of God
auf die Liebe Gottes.
in a way that was
Auf eine
far more
Weise, die
complete
weit vollständiger,
than the male.
umfassender wäre als bei
The
der
life giver
Die Lebensspender
should be the one,
sollte
the one that's
diejenige
far
sein,
more
die
connected
weitaus
originally.
ursprünglich schon diese Anbindung,
Even to this day,
selbst bis zum heutigen
you use the word women's intuition.
weibliche Intuition.
You don't say human
Es ist
intuition
nicht menschliche Intuition
or men's
oder
intuition.
männliche Intuition,
You say women's intuition.
weibliche Intuition.
This alone should tell you there's
Sollte
something
euch schon
special
sagen, da ist etwas Besonderes
about that which you would call the consciousness of the female,
des Weiblichen.
ready to understand so much more
Verstehen, so viel
intuitively
verstehen, intuitiv
than the man.
als die Männer.
And because of
Und
this,
genau deshalb
the woman's role,
ist es so, dass die Rolle
the
der
story that is so
Frau,
beautiful,
die Geschichte, die so wunderschön ist,
is that the women carried
besagt, dass die
that
Frauen
which is the torch of spirituality, the knowledge and the intuition to connect to God.
Die Anbindung an
They were the ones who taught humanity.
die der Menschheit das vermittelten.
We've told you the
Wir haben
stories
euch die Geschichten erzählt.
of what has taken place in
was
some of
sich
the
ereignet
early
hat in
times
der früheren
with
Zeit
women.
mit Frauen.
There was no
Es
objection
gab keine Einwände
of the men.
von Seiten der
Why would the men
Warum
object
sollten die Männer auch
to
einwenden
positive,
gegen
wonderful
positive,
guidance that was
wunderbare
accurate and
Führung,
true?
die zutreffend und wahr
They
war?
counted on the
Sie
women
zählten auf die Frauen,
to give them
dass
advice.
sie ihnen Rat geben.
If they're on islands, it's where to fish.
Wenn sie auf Inseln waren,
If they're in
wo sie
forests,
fischen,
it's where to
wenn sie
hunt.
im Wald waren, wo sie Jagdwild finden.
If they needed rain,
Wenn
it
sie
is how
Regen
to pray for
brauchten,
it.
wie sie für
And the
Regen
women
beten.
became
Und
the
die Frauen
shamans
wurden
of the earth.
Schamaninnen der Erde.
This is how it started.
War der Anbeginn.
This is the story
Das ist die Geschichte
of the female
des Weiblichen
since the beginning
von Anbeginn der Zeit
on planet Earth.
auf dem Planeten Erde.
There are certain civilizations
Bestimmte Zivilisationen
on this planet
auf diesem Planeten,
who are very old.
die sehr alt sind.
They are recorded up to 40,000
Man
years,
verzeichnet sie bis 40.000 Jahre.
and they're still there.
Und sie sind noch heute da.
You might say they are the
Man
ancients.
sagen, sie sind die alten Weisen.
And if you will study their
Und
culture
wenn ihr ihre
today,
Kultur heute näher studieren
the
würdet,
women are the shamans.
die Frauen auch dort, die Schamanen.
So there is very good proof of what I am telling you.
Also gründliche Beweise für das, was ich euch hier sage.
So what is next
Was ist also als nächstes
is in the evolution to come.
in der Evolution?
This is going to start to return
Es wird beginnen,
as intuitive knowledge
werden als intuitives
to
Wissen
humanity.
zur Menschen.
Not to men, not to women,
Zu den Männern,
but
nicht zu
all
den Frauen,
humanity.
sondern zur gesamten Menschen.
And you will start to see it.
Und ihr werdet beginnen, es zu sehen.
We have told you
Wir haben
before
es euch schon zu früheren
that some of the major revelations in the spiritual systems you have today, which have always been run by men,
immer von Männern bestimmt worden waren,
will start to change.
sich zu verändern beginnen werden.
And the systems will not
Diese
stop.
Systeme werden
They simply will become better,
werden nur einfach
more
besser,
intuitive,
intuitiv,
more representative
mehr
of what the truth is of
die
God.
Wahrheit Gottes repräsentiert.
Can you imagine
Könnt ihr euch das vorstellen?
the women sharing with the men
Die mit den Männern
these positions that have only been men
Positionen teilen,
for years and years,
Jahrelang
centuries
nur
perhaps?
Männern vorbehalten waren, jahrhundertelang vielleicht.
Can you imagine the resistance to this?
Welcher Widerstand
And that is going to show you
und das wird euch
how
zeigen,
evolution is
wie die
starting,
Evolution beginnt.
because there will be
Denn es wird
very little
sehr
resistance
wenig Widerstand
from the population.
von Seiten der Bevölkerung.
The resistance
Der Widerstand
will come mainly
wird hauptsächlich
from the men in
von
charge.
Männern in verantwortlichen Positionen.
But the population
Aber die allgemeine
will see
Bevölkerung
this
wird das sehen
and the wisdom of it.
und die Weisheit
And
davon.
slowly,
Und langsam
very slowly, the women will take
werden
their
die
positions
Frauen ihre Position
of
einnehmen,
intuition.
der Intuition.
And what will happen
Und
next
was als nächstes geschehen wird,
is they're going to be so much better at it.
sie so viel besser machen.
There will be no question
Das wird völlig außer Frage
who it
stehen,
belongs to.
wem es gehört,
And it will be a
wo es
return.
hingehört. Und es wird eine Rückkehr.
Dear ones, this is
Meine Lieben,
perhaps one of the largest truths
eine der größten Wahrheiten
of human intuition
der
and wisdom and evolution that is
Weisheit
coming.
und Evolution, die da bevorstehen.
Can you see how this might
Könnt ihr
change the
sehen, wie
planet?
das den Planeten verändern kann?
Can you see what
Könnt ihr
happens
sehen, was geschieht,
when a return to
wenn
intuition
eine
starts
Rückkehr zur
to become
Intuition
the way of it?
in Gang kommt?
It will affect everything.
Sich auswirken auf
It will affect business,
Es wird sich auswirken auf die Geschäftswelt,
Politics.
auf die Politik,
leadership,
auf die Führungskräfte
and the systems
und dieses
that worship that which is the Creator.
das verehren.
Watch
das
for
Schöpfer.
this.
Haltet Ausschau danach.
Some will say, well,
Einige werden sagen,
how is this really going to occur?
wie wird es letztlich wirklich
With the
stattfinden?
system of religion as it is.
Der Religion, so wie es heute
So the next thing is
ist.
this.
Nächste ist also folgendes.
Watch for the men in charge
Auf die Männer in Verantwortung
to suggest it.
dass sie es vorschlagen.
Well, they are receiving the intuition of their old souls.
Ihrer eigenen Seele.
And they will be the first to
Und sie werden
understand
die Ersten sein, die es verstehen.
we need a softer approach.
Einen weicheren, einen sanfteren.
We need to make our organization
Müssen unsere Organisation
more current with what's happening on the planet.
aktualisieren und mehr abstimmen auf das, was
Can I say this to you?
Kann ich euch das sagen?
Peace on earth
Frieden auf
is
Erden
possible,
ist möglich,
permanent,
permanent,
so permanent that weapons
permanent,
will not be manufactured.
nicht mehr hergestellt.
In order for this to happen,
Und damit das geschieht,
there'll be a slow
wird es
growth
ein langsames
in the
Wachstum
leadership of
in
women
den
in
Führungskreisen
spiritual
von Frauen
places.
geben, die an spirituellen Positionen sind.
That must take place.
Das muss stattfinden.
It has been said that the North American continent that you sit in now
Kontinent, den ihr heute
is the masculine
das
hemisphere.
die männliche Hirnhälfte repräsentiert.
Some have even called it the conquering
Haben
hemisphere.
sogar von der Eroberer-
Part of the shift and the prophecy of the eagle and the condor from the ancients
dem Adler und dem Kondor
is the melding between hemispheres
auf das
of the planet.
Verschmelzen zwischen den Hälften des Planeten.
The southern hemisphere has been
Südliche
called
Hemisphäre wurde
the
immer
mother hemisphere.
Mutterhemisphäre
That is all a metaphor.
genannt. Das ist alles
The
Bild.
melding of the hemispheres
Schmelzen der
is the
Hemisphäre
softening
ist das Weichen
of humanity.
der Menschheit.
It has already begun, dear
Es hat
ones.
bereits begonnen.
It continues.
Es geht weiter.
You will see a
Ihr
softer
werdet ein
consciousness
weicheres Bewusstsein sehen.
evolve eventually,
Entwickelt irgendwann.
even with some strife that may be
Mit
coming,
einigen Kämpfen, die damit verbunden
even
sind.
with some things that
Und
seem
sei es
out of
einige
place
Sachen,
from
die
everything I'm
unangebracht
saying.
wirken mögen und nicht sich vertragen mit
Remember,
was ich sage. Erinnert euch,
the battle between light
Kampf
and dark
zwischen Licht und Dunkel
will be a battle
wird ein Kampf
for a while.
eine Zeit lang.
The light and the dark
Das Licht
represents
in der Dunkelheit
high and low
repräsentiert
consciousness,
das hohe und das niedere Bewusstsein.
and they're drawing further and further apart.
Sie gehen weiter und weiter.
There will be no middle ground,
Es wird kein Mittel,
no fence sitting.
kein sich
You will
aushalten.
clearly see
Ihr seht eindeutig
darker consciousness,
dunkleres Bewusstsein.
and you will know of it
Und ihr
when you see it.
wisst es, wenn ihr es
You'll also be reminded
Ihr werdet auch erinnern,
they are doing their best
sie geben ihr Bestes,
to bring back a low consciousness to the planet
das niedrige
where they could be in
Bewusstsein
charge,
Planeten zurückzubringen, wo sie das
where they could give you war,
wo sie euch Krieg geben,
where they could make resources scarce yet again,
verknappen können aufs Neue.
and then be the kings
Dann die Könige sein
of the planet
des Planeten,
and hold all the power.
alle Macht für
And
sich
this
behalten.
will not
Das
take place.
wird nicht stattfinden.
There's too many of you,
Es gibt zu viele
there's
von
too
euch,
much
es
light,
gibt zu viel Licht
and the battle starts.
und der Kampf beginnt.
They will lose it.
Sie werden ihn verlieren.
But dear ones,
Aber meine Lieben,
as the battle progresses,
während der Kampf weiter
do not
fortschreitet,
fear who you are.
habt keine Angst vor dem, was ihr seid.
That's the story of the
Das
woman.
ist die Geschichte der Frau.
It started one way,
Sie begann auf die
and
eine
slowly,
Weise und so ganz
consciousness
langsam
devolved
hat sich das Bewusstsein
to what you have today.
zu dem, was ihr heute habt.
Since the shift, it now starts again
Es beginnt jetzt
to center itself where it
zu
belongs.
zentrieren dort, wo es hingehört.
Men of compassion
Männer von Mitgefühl
will nod at this channel and say, this is correct.
nickend anhören und sagen,
This is what we need.
genau das brauchen wir.
You will have no objections
Keine Einwände
to the old souls
gegen die alten Seelen,
who are the gender called male.
die das Geschlecht
Well, their wisdom can see it too.
männlich genannt wird. Aber
They were there.
sie können es auch
They
sehen.
remember.
Sie waren da in ihrer Weisheit. Sie erinnern sich.
Once again,
Noch einmal.
you have the meld between the genders,
Verschmelzung zwischen den Geschlechtern,
centering on a great truth.
die sich zentriert auf einer großen Wahrheit.
This message is
Die
given
Botschaft
on the feminine island,
auf der Fraueninsel.
and it's about time.
Und es wird Zeit dafür.
And so it is.
Und so ist es.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. For the listener, we are yet back on the boat. And now, again, ungrounded. Dear ones, this is again an opportunity to do something that is unusual. It can be remarkable, and it's something that old souls can do. A golden opportunity, yet again, for a love package of compassion together in an ungrounded place to do something that is very quantum. I want to explain something. Before we accomplish on this boat something we have never done in Channel, I want to explain something, and then I want to give you a concept that is packed with logic, something that you will understand fully in a moment. The Akashic record of an old soul is filled with experience. The Akashic record is that energy of all that you have done and been in lifetimes of the past. That is how we define the Akash. Can you think of how much must be there? Now I want to ask yourself, what is it that occasionally surfaces? And that is, what energy is it that visits you most often? And the answer is something that should surprise you. The things that visit you the most often are the difficult ones. The things that would pop up and challenge you. Now, dear ones, this does not sound like a balanced Akash. Because think of all the grand things that are also in there. Think of all the lifetimes of shamanic energy, of beauty, of having children, of laughter, of accomplishment, of leadership. And yet, the things that come forward are battle, war, difficulty, what you have done in the past that perhaps is inappropriate, and even that which some call karma. I want you to think for a moment why that would be. What is it that would make the Akash difficult? Now, dear ones, I want to take you back in remembrance. We, on the other side of the veil, have given you free choice. It is a beautiful attribute. There will be many, even on this boat, who might have difficulty even believing what I'm about to tell you. The free choice has no judgment connected with it at all. If you leave this boat, and that is subjects that been brought up, perhaps you question. Perhaps you'd say, well, it's not what I've been taught. I'll think about it later. There's no judgment. I'll say something I have said so many times before. Love is love. You are the family of love. The same number of angelic beings will walk out with you as with those who believe this, dear ones. Do you understand this? It's a concept, perhaps, that you're not used to. There is no essential reason why you must believe these things unless you're ready to receive them. That's beautiful. That's the love of God. So listen with an open heart and an open mind. Your Akash is often something that brings you trouble. Not only in the things that you may have done or had difficulty with in the past, but what about the many deaths you've had? Those who drowned have trouble today with water. Those who died on the battlefield carry that in lifetime after lifetime. Some of you have been warriors so often that you awaken in this lifetime and you have the attributes of the warrior. This alone will start not to serve you because it is a dichotomous energy. It's opposite. Imagine a compassionate light worker who remembers killing others on a battlefield. This will cause anxiety at a very basic emotional level. It causes guilt. It is not suiting the master that you are. And yet this is what you get. Why would this be? The answer is this. All of these centuries, you have existed in a low energy, low consciousness, literally in the dark. You have struggled with your enlightenment. Those who've awakened in past lives quite often had trouble because they were immediately fighting the dark, and others who wanted to eliminate them. And in the darker energies before 2012, almost all of you had these experiences. In a low consciousness, the things that will then be negative will come to the surface. Did you hear that? In a low consciousness, the things that are negative in your Akash will be the ones that come to the surface. What do you think is next? If you are passing into a higher consciousness and there becomes an elevation of awareness, if you become more aware and start evolving, the old energy attributes will pass away. Therefore, the things that you think are common and that you've always had and that you've always experienced will not necessarily be the truth in the future. A paradigm shift is upon you, and this is a big one. I want to give you a truth. When you start understanding what I'm telling you, you're going to come to a startling realization. Do you understand that right now you're having trouble with your Akashic Records memories as though they were not in control of your own soul? Let me put it another way. You have always been in control of your Akash. Always. You've always been in control of what you remember. Always. But in a darker energy, you always separated it, as though the Akash were attacking you, perhaps in your dreams or your daily events, as though it were not even yours or part of you. The new awareness is this. You are in control completely of your Akash because it is you. It is part of the esoterics of the multidimensional soul. As you start to evolve, it's going to be a flash of awareness. It's mine. It's not something that lays in the background to torment me. I can control it. It is something that I have. I live this. Now there are two things I would like to discuss. Number one is the awareness and the elimination and the beginning of the elimination of the negative things of past lives. And the second is this. With a new energy, you're going to start having memories of the good things. For the first time in human history, the Akash is going to serve the old soul. But not if you push it away as though it were not yours. So the first thing you must do is to cognize, and that means believe and accept your own Akash. And you can do this any way you wish. But the second thing that we're going to do together is going to be a fast track to marrying the Akash in a benevolent way to your mastery. What this means is to skip many of the processes that would then help you do this and have you do it today on this ship instantly. A spark of beginning, a marriage of your Akash to your awareness, to your soul, so you're in charge of what it gives you and in charge of what you want it to eliminate. And the reason you can do it, two reasons. Number one, you're not grounded. Number two, because there's 400 old souls. You can create right now spark of light together that can accomplish this. So let's begin. First and foremost, we need those who believe it to participate. If you're on the periphery of belief and you're just here for a nice time, there is no judgment. We need the ones who are the strongest believers of light in their life, and the strongest believers that they can create something together which is bigger than the whole. It is an esoteric belief of the ancients that groups of you can affect a greater whole. And today the greater whole is the ones on this boat who want to begin to be aware of their Akash to the point where they can eliminate the things that are inappropriate for their magnificence. I need the believers. I want you to pretend for a moment you're going to strike a match. And this match is a quantum one. It has no fire. Instead, it's a match of light. Now, each one of you will have your idea of what color this light will be. And I'm not going to give you a suggestion, because this is the part that is the magic. That human consciousness is going to create this fast track and pass it to those who are wishing to have it. On this boat, right now, just those of you who are here. Now, those who are listening may very well also participate after the fact. This is difficult for you, for you believe this can only be done in your time frame. What you don't understand is that what you create today is able to be then recreated by those who listen later. In fact, if you decide to listen later, you may even get greater benefit than today. And the answer of why is because this is a quantum exercise. This is a multidimensional exercise. You are not grounded, but you can help the ones who are because of who you are and what you're about to do. Believers, I need you to strike the match. Make this visual in your mind any way you can see it. A match of light, strike it now and let it grow into the matches of all the others who have the mastery of light. You can feel this. I can feel this. You're so ready. Oh, ungrounded ones, keep this ball of light right here with the 400 of you. And let it sit in the middle of the vessel. And everything inappropriate in any past life is going into the light right now. This is the fast track to allow you to come out clean and fresh and ready to receive the benevolence of the good things that have happened in your life for centuries. The beautiful things, perhaps that have never surfaced before. Let the ugly things be consumed so completely that they will never bother you again. And if they should even start to, you can address them because you own your Akash. You own your Akash. It is not something apart from you that's going to bother you for the rest of your life. You own it. Let this light shine brighter and brighter to the point where it is literally part of the vessel itself and part of you. Let the captain feel it. This is real. The multidimensionality of consciousness that is concentrated is being measured in coherence on this planet by scientists. This is not all esoteric. This is science, it is physics, and you're participating in the edge of this, which is also that which is part of the love of God. The Creator that is in you has been asking you for this, has been asking you to be here. What you're doing right now may affect the rest of your life. And it's the reason you came on the boat today. And you'll only be feeling it a little later, and it'll start in your dreams. Let the light shine bright. Keep the light shining bright. Let this affect all who wish it to be effective. Believers, keep it bright. Hold it. Just hold it. Let it burn all the inappropriate things. And now put it away. Bring it back. There are some on the boat who will say, "What a nice exercise." There are some on the boat who will not understand what happened. And there are some who will be changed forever. I want you to know something. What you do with your Akash today will affect all of your future lives. You don't start over, dear ones. This is a quantum effect. There are many of you who said, "I am tired and I'm not coming back." Yes, you are. And the reason is this, dear ones. Because in this new energy, you have a renewed Akash. You won't make the same mistakes you did before. You will awaken with wisdom you didn't have before. Young, ready to go into a new energy. It's not going to be anything like you've ever experienced before. That's why you're coming back. You would not miss the party. Dear ones, this is what the old souls do for old souls. And you could only have done this by being ungrounded and together. There is no dysfunction in this. It is not an esoteric exercise completely. There's physics behind what you just did. But it affects everything that you think you are. What is your belief? We return to the first channel as we close. Do you believe the Creator is inside you? Do you now have further evidence that you are part of everything? If you are part of everything, that means you have a say in what happens on this planet. You have a say. Make it count, old soul. Make it count. And so it is.